found Sarah's journal 3 weeks into the job, hidden behind the detergent dispenser in the back room. The last entry was dated 2 months before I started. It said, "Rule 6 is a lie. If you're reading this, I'm already gone. Don't trust her." And then the writing just stopped, like someone had ripped the pen from her hand mid-sentence. I should have quit right there, but rent was due, my student loans were crushing me, and I've already been evicted once this year, so I kept reading, and I kept working. That was 4 months ago. My name's Jordan Lee, I'm 26 years old, and I'm about to tell you why I'll never set foot in a laundromat again. I grew up in the suburbs, went to state school for graphic design, and I graduated in the worst job market in a decade. After 2 years of unpaid internships and freelance gigs that barely covered ramen, I was desperate enough to take anything. When I saw the listing on Craigslist, night attendant needed, 24-hour laundromat, $18 an hour, immediate start, I applied within minutes. The pay was weirdly good, too good really, for sitting in a laundromat overnight making sure no one vandalizes the machines, but I didn't think too hard about it. The interview was brief. I met the owner, a woman named Mrs. Chen, at the laundromat at 9 PM on Tuesday. The place was called Spin Cycle, and it sat on a corner lot in a transitional neighbourhood, the kind that was gentrifying slowly, where you'll see craft brewery next to a check cashing place. The interview was brief. Mrs. Chen was maybe 60, short and stocky, with grey hair pulled into a tight bun. She had the kind of face that looked like it used to smile a lot but didn't anymore. When she shook my hand, her palm was cold and dry like paper. "You're the first applicant who showed up on time," she said. Her accent was slight but noticeable. "Most people read the listing and don't come." "Well, I need the job," I said honestly. She studied me for a long moment, her dark eyes unreadable. "Come inside," she said finally. "I'll show you around." The laundromat was bigger than it looked from the outside. 3 rows of commercial washers lined the left room, chrome-fronted monsters that could handle 8 loads at once. Across from them were the dryers, 20 of them, their round glass doors reflecting the fluorescent lights like dead eyes. In the back corner was a folding station with laminate tables scarred by cigarette burns and permanent marker. Everything smelled like detergent and dampness, that Pacific laundromat smell that gets in your clothes and stays there for hours. The floor was checkered, yellowed with age. The walls were painted a queasy mint green. "Your shift is midnight to 8 AM, Mrs. Chen said, walking me through the space. "The Sunday through Thursday, 5 nights a week." "What exactly do I do?" I asked. "Make sure the machines don't break, keep the place clean, handle customers if they have problems. Most nights you'll be alone," she paused. "There are rules, 6 of them. You follow them exactly and you'll be fine." That should have been my first warning, but I just nodded. She led me to the front desk, a scarred wooden counter next to the door with an ancient cash register and a bulletin board covered in faded flyers. Behind the counter was a metal door with a deadbolt. "That's the office and the supply room," Mrs. Chen said. "You'll spend most of your time in there. It's safer." "Safer?" I asked. She didn't answer. Instead, she opened a drawer and pulled out a laminated sheet of paper. The edges were worn smooth, like it had been handled thousands of times. "The rules," she said, handing it to me. "Read them now. Read them every shift. Do not deviate." I looked down at the paper. Rule 1. Machine 7 is always running. Washer 7, second row, third from the left, runs continuously from 1 AM to 5 AM. The door will be locked. Do not open it. Do not look inside. Do not turn it off. If it stops on its own, call this number immediately. A phone number was printed below. If the water turns red, leave the building and do not return until sunrise. Rule 2. Sort the lost and found. Check the lost and found bin is under the folding table at exactly 2:30 AM. Sort items into 3 categories. Keep, normal items, socks, shirts and keys. Burn, items that are stained black, smell like sulfur or feel wrong. Return, items with names written in blood. Place burn items in the incinerator in the back room. Place return items in the red basket by the front door. Never touch return items with your bare hands. Rule 3. The dryers. Between 3 AM and 4 AM, some dryers will run even though no one's put coins in. This is normal. Do not open them unless they stop on their own. If you see movement inside a running dryer, shadows, shapes, hands, ignore it. If a dryer door opens by itself, close it immediately and put a piece of blue tape on it. Do not use machines with blue tape for the rest of the shift. Rule 4. Customers after 3 AM. If someone enters after 3 AM, greet them normally but watch for these signs. They don't cast a reflection in the window glass. They ask for change in a language you don't recognise but somehow understand. They bring laundry bags that move on their own. They load machines but never return to collect their clothes. If they exhibit any of these signs, do not engage further. Return to the office, lock the door, and wait until you hear the door chime signal they've left. Do not come out before the chime. Rule 5. The back room. The door to the back room, industrial machines and storage, must remain closed at all times. You'll hear sounds from back there, knocking, water running, voices. Ignore all of it. You'll need to go back there twice per shift. Once to check the incinerator, 2:30 AM, and once to restock supplies, 6 AM. When you enter, say, "I'm just here to work," before crossing the threshold. Do not respond if anything answers you. Work quickly and leave. Rule 6. If you see the girl. Sometimes a little girl will appear sitting on one of the folding tables. She wears a yellow raincoat and has long black hair covering her face. She won't move. She won't speak. When you see her, you must turn on all the lights in the building. Play the radio AM 1070 at maximum volume. Stay in the office with the door locked until she's gone. Do not try to speak to her. Do not try to see her face. She'll leave before sunrise. If she's still there at 5 AM, call Mrs. Chen immediately. I looked up from the paper, my mouth dry. Is this some kind of joke? I asked. Mrs. Chen's expression didn't change. Do you want the job or not? I thought about my overdrawn bank account. I thought about the eviction notice I'd received from my last apartment. I thought about how I'd be eating dollar store pasta for 3 weeks straight. When do I start? I said. Tonight, Mrs. Chen replied. I'll stay with you for the first hour. After that, you're on your own. Mrs. Chen left at 1 AM. Remember the rules, she said as she buttoned up her coat. Follow them exactly. I'll see you at 8 AM. And then she was gone, and I was alone. The laundromat was never truly silent. Even with no customers, there were sounds. The hum of fluorescent lights, the groan of the building settling, the distant traffic on the street outside. But at night, those sounds felt different, amplified, wrong. I sat behind the desk in the office, a cramped space with a desk, a filing cabinet, and a space heater that rattled when it ran. The door had a narrow window that looked out over the laundromat floor. I could see all 3 rows of machines, the folding tables, the front entrance. At 1:07 AM, machine 7 started running. I jumped at the sound, that sudden rush of water filling the drum, the mechanical clunk as the cycle engaged. I stood up and walked to the office door, peering through the narrow window. Machine 7 was in the second row, exactly where the rules said. Through the round glass door, I could see water sloshing back and forth. The drum was turning slowly, the way washers do during the wash cycle, but the lid was locked, just like the rules said it would be. I couldn't see what was inside. The water was too soapy, too churned up. But as I watched, something dark moved beneath the surface. Just a flash, gone too quickly to identify. I stepped back from the window, my heart pounding. It's probably just clothes, I told myself. Someone loaded it in before I got here, that's all. But the rules said the machine ran continuously, which meant whatever was inside had been washing for hours, maybe days. I went back to the desk and tried to distract myself with my phone. No signal, of course, so I sat there, just listening to Machine 7 run. At 2:30 AM, I checked the lost and found. The bin was under the folding table, exactly where the rules said. It was a large plastic tub, the kind you'll use for storing winter clothes. I pulled it out and sat it on the table. Inside were maybe 20 items, a pair of sneakers, some mismatched socks, a hoodie, a keychain shaped like a dog, a phone charger, a child's shoe, and a shirt. It was a white t-shirt, crumpled at the bottom of the bin. When I picked it up to examine it, I noticed the stain. It wasn't dirt, it wasn't mud, it was black, pure, lightless black, like someone had spilled ink across the fabric. But it wasn't wet, it was dry and stiff, and when I touched it, my fingers came away clean but cold, like I touched ice. The shirt smelled wrong, not like sulphur, the rule specifically mentioned sulphur, but like something else, something rotten and sweet, like fruit left out too long in the sun. Burn items, stained black, smell like sulphur, or feel wrong. Disqualified. I grabbed a pair of latex gloves from the desk. Mrs. Jen had left the box, and I carried the shirt to the back room. The back room was worse than expected. The door opened into a narrow hallway lined with industrial shelves stacked with detergent, fabric softener, and cleaning supplies. At the far end was the incinerator, a squat metal furnace with a hinged door. The walls were bare concrete, stained with water damage and something else I didn't want to think about. I remembered Rule 5, "I'm just here to work," I said out loud. My voice sounded small and hollow. Nothing answered. I walked quickly to the incinerator, opened the hatch, and threw the shirt inside. Then I pulled the lever to ignite it. The flames roared to life, and I watched through a small window as the shirt curled and blackened and dissolved into ash. As I watched, I could swear I heard something, a sound like a sigh, or maybe a scream, distant and muffled. I didn't want to find out. I left the back room, closed the door firmly behind me, and returned to the office. At 3:17 AM, the first dryer started running. I heard it from the office, that distinctive thump 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 of clothes tumbling. I looked through the window. Dryer 12 was running, its drum spinning, its glass door fogged with heat. No one had put coins in it. No one had loaded it. Rule 3, between 3 AM and 4 AM, some dryers will run even though no one put coins in. This is normal. I watched it for a moment, trying to see what was inside. The glass was too foggy, but then, just for a second, the fog cleared and I saw a hand, a human hand, pressing against the glass from the inside, pale, fingers sprayed. Then the fog returned and it was gone. I backed away from the window, my pulse hammering in my ears. Do not open them until they stop on their own. If you see movement inside, shadows, shapes, hands, ignore it. I sat down at my desk, facing away from the window, and tried not to think about what I'd just seen. The dryer ran for another 20 minutes, then it stopped. I didn't check what was inside. I made it through the first 2 nights without major incident. A few strange sounds, a few unexplained things, but nothing I couldn't rationalize anyway. On the 3rd night, I met my first customer. It was 3:42 AM. I was half asleep at the desk when the door chime rang. I jerked awake and looked through the office window. A man stood in the doorway. He was tall, maybe 6'4", and thin in a way that looked wrong, like his limbs were just slightly too long for his body. He wore a dark coat and a wide-brimmed hat that shadowed his face. He carried a black duffel bag over one shoulder. "Good evening," I called through the window, my voice shaky. "Can I help you?" He didn't respond. He just walked to the washers, moving with a strange, gliding gait, and set the duffel bag on the floor. I watched as he opened it and began pulling out clothes, except they weren't clothes. They were stained, badly, dark reddish-brown stains that covered every piece of fabric, and they were wet, dripping. My stomach churned. Rule 4. If someone enters after 3 a.m, watch for these signs. I looked at the window behind him, trying to see his reflection. There wasn't one. The glass reflected the laundromat, the machines, the lights, the folding tables. But where was the man? But where the man should have been, there was nothing. Just empty space. My blood turned to ice. If they exhibit any of these signs, do not engage further. Return to the office, lock the door, and wait until you hear the door chimes signal they've left. I stepped back from the window, locked the office door, and sat down. I could still see him through the narrow window. He was loading the clothes into a washer, one piece at a time, his movements slow and deliberate. Minutes passed, then I heard it. A voice, his voice, low and rasping. "Excuse me?" He was standing right outside the office door. I didn't answer. "Excuse me?" he said again. "I need change." I pressed myself against the back wall, my heart slamming against my ribs. "I know you're in there," he said. His voice was patient, almost kind. "I just need quarters, please." Do not engage further. I squeezed my eyes shut and waited. The doorknob rattled. "Please," he said. "Open the door." I didn't move. The rattling stopped. Silence. Then, faintly, I heard it. The door chime. He was gone. I waited another 10 minutes before unlocking the office door and stepping out. The laundromat was empty, but washer 9 was running, filled with dark, rust-covered water. I didn't look closer. A week in, I found the journal. I was restocking supplies in the back room when I noticed something wedged between the industrial detergent dispenser, a small spiral-bound notebook with a blue cover. I pulled it out and flipped it open. The first page had a name written in neat handwriting, Sarah Vega. I recognised the name. Mrs. Chen had mentioned her briefly during the interview. Sarah had worked the night shift before me. She quit suddenly, no notice, no explanation. Mrs. Chen said she just stopped showing up. I started reading. Entry 1, September the 12th. First night. The rules are insane, but the pay is good. Mrs. Chen seems off, like she's scared of this place. I asked her why she doesn't work nights herself, and she just said, "I've done my time." What does that mean? Entry 3, September the 14th. Machine 7 ran tonight. I watched it for 20 minutes, trying to see what's inside. The water turned murky halfway through, almost black. I swear I saw something moving. Not clothes, something alive. Entry 7, September 22nd. I found a child's shoe in the lost and found tonight. It was soaking wet and smelled like pond water. It had a name written inside, Lily. I put it in the return basket like the rules said. When I came back an hour later, it was gone. Who took it? Entry 12, October the 1st. The dryers ran again tonight. I made the mistake of looking inside dryer 8 after it stopped. There was nothing in there, just emptiness. But I swear I felt something looking back at me. I put blue tape on it. Entry 18, October the 10th. I saw the girl tonight, the one in the yellow raincoat. She was sitting on the folding table, exactly like the rules said. I followed the instructions, turned on all the lights, played the radio loud, locked myself in the office. She was gone by 4 AM, but I could feel her watching me through the door the whole time. Entry 24, October the 21st. I think Rule 6 is wrong, or incomplete. There's something about the girl that just doesn't make sense. Why does she appear? What does she want? Mrs. Chen won't tell me. I'm going to try something tonight. Entry 25, October 22nd. I spoke to her. I know the rules say not to, but I had to know. When she appeared tonight, I didn't lock myself in the office. I walked up to her and said, "Who are you?" She didn't move, didn't speak, just sat there with her hair covering her face. Then, very slowly, she lifted her head. I didn't see her face. I couldn't. It was like looking at static on a TV, just noise, shifting and buzzing. But I heard her voice, clear as day. "They're still here." I asked what she meant. She didn't answer. She just pointed towards the back room. I left her there and went to check. The door to the back room was open. I know I closed it earlier. I walked inside, past the shelves, past the incinerator. There's another door at the very back, behind the shelves. I never noticed it before. It's red, industrial steel, no handle, no lock, just a door. And from the other side, I can hear them, voices, dozens of them, screaming. Entry 26, October 23rd. Rule 6 is a lie. If you're reading this, I'm already gone. Don't trust the... The entry ended there, the ink trailing off like she'd been interrupted. I flipped through the rest of the notebook. The remaining pages were blank, except for the last page. There, written in shaky, desperate handwriting were 2 words. Open it. I should have quit that night, but I didn't. Instead, I went to the back room. The back room felt different now that I knew what to look for. I walked past the shelves, past the incinerator, to the very back wall, and there it was, a red door, almost hidden behind a stack of detergent boxes. Industrial steel, just like Sarah described. No handle, no lock, no markings, but I could hear them. Voices, faint, muffled, like they were coming from very far away. Men, women, children, all of them screaming. I pressed my ear against the door. The screaming stopped. Silence. Then, very softly, I heard a voice, a woman's voice. "Jordan." My blood ran cold. That was my name. "Jordan, open the door." It was Sarah's voice. "Jordan, please, we're stuck. We need your help. Open the door." I stepped back, my hands shaking. Rule 5, do not respond if anything answers you. "I know you can hear me," Sarah's voice said. "I know you found my journal. You have to open the door. It's the only way out." "Out of what?" I whispered. "The cycle," she said. "This place, we're all stuck here, Jordan. Everyone who's ever worked the night shift, Mrs. Chen, the others, me, we're all behind the door, and if you don't open it, we'll end up here too." "Oh, I don't believe you," I said. Silence. Then another voice, a man's voice this time, older, rough. "She's telling the truth, kid. This place doesn't let you leave. You think you're going home at 8 AM? You're not. You're just resetting. Every night is the same, over and over, until you end up here with us." More voices joined in, overlapping, desperate. "Please, open the door. Let us out. You're already one of us." I ran. I left the back room, slammed the door shut and locked myself in the office. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone. No signal, of course. I looked at the clock on the wall, 3:47 AM. I had 4 more hours until sunrise. 3 weeks later, Mrs. Chen finally told me the truth. She showed up at 2 AM, unannounced. I was in the office when I heard the door chime. I looked up and saw her standing in the doorway, still wearing her coat, her face drawn and tired. "We need to talk," she said. She sat down across from me and folded her hands on the desk. "How much have you figured out?" she asked. "Enough," I said. "Sarah's journal, the voices behind the red door, the girl in the raincoat. What is this place?" Mrs. Chen went quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "This building sits on a convergence, a place where the boundaries between worlds are thin. Things slip through, spirits, echoes, lost souls. The rules exist to keep them contained, to keep them from spreading into the city. And the red door, that's where they go when they can't move on. It's not a door, it's a seal. If you opened it," she trailed off, her eyes dark, "everything we've kept contained will come through. Sarah said you're stuck here, that everyone who works the night shift ends up behind that door." Mrs. Chen smiled sadly. "Sarah was wrong, or maybe she was right. It depends on how you define stuck. I've worked here for 40 years, Jordan. Every night, I can't leave. But I'm not behind the door. Not yet." "Why didn't you tell me this before I took the job?" "Would you have believed me?" She had a point. "Here's what I'll tell you," Mrs. Chen said, standing up. "You have a choice. You can keep working, follow the rules, keep the seal intact, or you can open that door and see what happens." "What happens if I open it?" "You'll free them," she said. "All of them. Sarah, the others, me." She paused. "But you'll take their place." Last night I went back to the red door. I stood in front of it for 20 minutes, my hand hovering over the surface. I could hear them on the other side, dozens of voices, begging, pleading. "Let us out, please. We've been in here for so long." And Sarah's voice, clearest of all, "Jordan, please. You're the only one who can end this." I thought about what Mrs. Chen said, about the seal, about the consequences, and I thought about something else that Sarah wrote in her journal. Rule 6 is a lie. I went back to the front desk and pulled out the laminated rule sheet. Rule 6, if you see the girl. I read it again, and then I realised the rule doesn't say what happens if you do see her face. It just says, don't try, which means someone did and survived long enough to write the rule. At 3 AM, the girl appeared. She was sitting at the folding table, wearing her yellow raincoat, her long black hair covering her face. I didn't turn on the lights, I didn't play the radio, I didn't lock myself in the office. I walked up to her. "I know what you are," I said. She didn't move. "You're not a ghost, you're not a demon. You're a warning, aren't you?" Slowly, so slowly, she lifted her head. I saw her face. It wasn't static, it wasn't blank, it was a mirror. I was looking at myself, older, tired, trapped. "Don't open the door," I said to her, to myself. "That's what you're trying to tell me, right?" She nodded, and then she was gone. I still work at Spin Cycle. It's been 4 months now. I follow the rules, I keep the seal intact, I ignore the voices behind the red door. Sarah's wrong about one thing. I'm not stuck. Not yet. I go home every morning at 8 AM. I see sunlight, I live my life. But every night, when I come back, I feel it pulling at me. The convergence, the thin place. Mrs. Chen was right. This place doesn't let go easily. Sometimes, late at night, I catch my reflection in the dry glass, and I see myself wearing a yellow raincoat. I don't know how much time I have left. Days, months, years. But I'll tell you this. If you ever see a job listing for a night attendant at a 24-hour laundromat, offering way too much money for what should be a simple job, keep scrolling. Some cycles aren't meant to be broken, and some doors should never be opened.